from Diane, who says, I've been asked to return to work normally. I've been asked to return to work normally when we shift to alert level 3, but my employer is saying they will only pay me the wage subsidy, despite the hours they are expecting me to do that exceed that amount. They're basically asking me to do 40 hours of work, but are only going to pay me for 30. Is that super illegal, and what can I do?
It seems super illegal to me, the way that they're outlining that. You know, like, that employer wants to chop her pay, but still wants her to do the same amount of hours that she would normally do. Like, if you would have to give consent to any reduction in your pay under usual circumstances, and there's no like special circumstances in this scenario where employers could do something like that, as far as I'm aware. So if the employer wanted to pay Diane less, the only way I could see that being reasonable is if they agreed she'd work less hours. Know what I mean?
Yeah, well, the wage subsidy isn't for people who are currently working. The wage subsidy is for people who are off work, right?
No, it's for people who are working too.
Oh.
It's for an employer to, like, they could use it for staff who are working as well. If they've still lost some income, and they need to pay their staff who are working, then they could still use that wage subsidy to support them to pay their wages.
Sure.
It's for whether you're working or not. Yeah.
But you can't not pay somebody for their hours.
If you work, you have to be paid.
Yeah.
Right. Like let's just use the wage worker for example, because it's less complicated than salary. But a wage worker has to be paid for every hour they work. So Diane should be paid for every hour that she works. If she's working 40 hours, she should be paid for 40 hours, not 30 hours. Employer, if they were genuinely doing something like that, it's dodgy as hell. They can't just say, we're getting the wage subsidy, pass on to you $585.60, which is the subsidy amount, I think, for full-timers, and then expect her to do a full week when she'd typically get $800 for a full week. That's brazenly illegal, from what I can tell. But the employer may have a genuine reason to want to be in a position where they're handing out less cash. But yeah, I think it'd need to be less hours worked for them to achieve that. And they should be having a two-way conversation with that worker around the changes that they want to happen. And if they just unilaterally make a decision without consulting that worker, they could be opening themselves up for a PG, breaching the contract, that sort of thing. So it just pisses me off, because there's so many there's too many of these situations we're hearing about where employers are trying to dictate terms, and it's because we have this toxic power imbalance and employment relationships in New Zealand. So shame on you employers who are doing this.
Do you have anything to add, Kerry?
Yeah, I mean, going off on what Tony said, I mean, just really the starting point is that employees who are working from home or working as usual should be paid their ordinary pay, but that is unless that's otherwise agreed between the employer and the employee. So if an employer was going to do that, they would need to propose it to the employee and get their get their agreement and consult with them as to whether that was feasible. But I mean, employees can't be paid below minimum wage. They're still working. So the Minimum Wage Act, Employment Relations Act, all of those key acts there are still in place. So yeah, I mean, bit of a tricky situation, but unfortunately not all that too uncommon during these times. It's just going to really be case by case basis, and a situation where the employer needs to talk to the employee and vice versa if the employee has had that happen to them.
It seems like there is the potential for that worker or any worker that has a similar situation like that to be paid under the minimum wage. If the employer is going, okay, I've applied for the full-time wage subsidy for this worker, so I'm going to pass on just the $585 and get them work a full-time week. If they did the math, that worker could be receiving less than the minimum wage, couldn't they?
Yeah, so I mean, arguably. because the minimum wage rate for adults is now $18.90. So off the top of my head, I'm not sure what the maths is, but I think they can't exceed 31 hours a week, otherwise they'll fall under what is the minimum wage entitlement. But don't hold me to that, but it's something around that. So employers definitely need to be really careful.
Yeah, I get slammed for that.